Greetings and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. I'm your host, Dr. G, and I'm so glad you can keep our appointment. Tonight's guest really needs no introduction. You all know him. I want to welcome tonight back my friend, my holistic healthcare practitioner and yours, none other than Dr. Botanica. Welcome.
Grand evening. Grand evening.
Grand evening to you. I just gave you the short version because I know that you probably have a lot you want to talk about, and folk know who you are, and if they don't know who you are, they will know tonight. You have been a fixture and a staple for House of Reawakening Minds and Office Hours with Dr. G. You along with Brother Dave and appreciate y'all's knowledge and so forth, but this was impromptu. We talk a lot because you're always concerned about what I'm doing health-wise, if I'm getting enough sleep and so forth and so on, which most of the time I'm not. So we keep in touch quite a bit, and so I was talking to you about this idea I have because I am quick with witty when it comes to titles. And I was yeah, that's right. And so I came up with get the health out. We always trying to get the right. But we need to get the health out. And tonight we're not going to be talking about we're not going to be talking about the C or the V. We're going to be talking about the we. What we need to do, to actually make sure that we are healthy in mind, body, and spirit. So I do appreciate you being here. I want to get this audio right a little bit. I'm hearing a little bit of noise. I hope everybody can hear us. If you in the chat and if you are, I don't know if you're hearing any feedback or anything, let me know. Otherwise, again, welcome back. I feel like I want to sing that welcome back. Oops, I dropped it, y'all. I want to sing that. You remember that welcome back Cotter song?
Welcome back, Cotter, yeah.
But you know what? When someone is good, and I know, folks might say, well, you have this person or that person on quite a bit. Well, there's not a whole lot of people who have expertise in certain areas that you can call on. And just like with Grand Sheik, for instance, with Grand Sheik, there are some folks who say, oh, he's been talking that stuff. Thank you for those who are saying that we're good. Hey, Sam Banjo. But those ones that say, well, he's saying the same. He's been saying the same thing for 40 years. Well, that speaks to consistency, because ain't it's changed. And if you haven't done what he said 40 years ago, you need to hear it again 40 years later because it's still relevant. And that's the same thing when I bring guests back, and I know that there's more to be explored or expounded upon, or maybe there's something new on the horizon that needs to come out. But I am so gracious and grateful for guests like you. And I don't even want to call you, it's hard to call you guests. I like we become friends.
Yeah, we're like family.
Well, kinfolk, as they say. Kinfolk. So we kinfolk. And but it's good to have you here, and it's good to see those of you in the chat. Before we get really started, smash that thumbs up, give us that share, like, share, do all that stuff. And if you have not, please do subscribe to either, I don't know which channel you're on. You're either on Dr. G's official or you're on House of Reawakening Minds at Office Hours with Dr. G. Nevertheless, it's Dr. G. I'm official. We here, and we're going to talk about what we need to do to get the health out.
Absolutely. It's just like water. I mean, you can't emphasize enough on the proper intake of water, the amount of water, because water sustains life. It stimulates life. It stimulates elimination. So, though it appears to be something that, I've heard that before, but do you actually exercise that? And so when you talk about health, with the crisis we're in right now, and we've been in this crisis, for the last, ever since the Industrial Revolution. I mean, when you talking about the annoying consumption of commercialized food, and as I stated many times, most people have never consumed real food. They've consumed bulk matter. They consumed things that are chemically derived, things that are not found in nature. However, these electrical signals that are interpreted by the brain gives us the idea or the assumption that we're consuming real food, and we're not. So it's a program, so we're actually have been programmed to look at certain things when they're not really connected to nature. We're living in a more of an anti-life system. Okay. And so it's like, again, when you look at a antibiotic versus a probiotic, something that taxes life or takes life versus what gives life. So, pioneers since the time of Imhotep, we have been trying to get the health out there, and, through philosophy, through examples, and we've lived in a very objective world of disease, artificial lifestyle. And most people, they unknowingly practice an artificial lifestyle. It's no different than this dollar bill. We think that it's real money, but it's not real. So we need to learn how to define what is real and what is not real. So the same thing when we consume, for example, sugar. We'll consume something that tastes like sugar. However, that substance that we assume that sugar is causing internal decay. White sugar. How many of us have been consuming white sugar for many, many years? And as I stated before, archaeologists can find skulls and bones from ancient civilization with the teeth still intact to the skull, but most people can't live beyond or don't reach their 40th birthday with all their teeth intact. True. That's because we were consuming what we thought was sugar, but it was actually a drug. It was actually a chemical. So yeah, you can't emphasize enough about getting the health out there, because people are still challenged and being compromised by cancer, heart disease. And as a matter of fact, speaking of this, the crisis we're dealing with now, the number one killer today, right now, as we speak, is what? Heart disease, heart attack, in relation to stroke, congestive heart failure, cardio infarction, myocardial diseases, mitral valve prolapse, all these different cardiovascular diseases is proliferated by what we thought was food. Wow. And unfortunately we become complacent. We again, is all, even in the Bible says, my people perish for lack for knowledge, and we still.
Can I interject with that? I always have to say this because, we always use that scripture out of context. You got to skip the whole part of it. It's like my people perish for lack of knowledge because thou hast rejected knowledge. And it's because of the rejection of knowledge. It's not for the lack of, it's for the rejection of the knowledge that comes. And then even me, I know how hard you've been working with me to get me to go to bed on time and, try to get at least 8 hours sleep. And I still, sometimes I'm getting into bed like this morning, 6 a.m., and maybe then, and my body still says, well, I don't care what time you got in, I'm waking you up at 6:45 because that's what time you get up. So, it's because we reject knowledge. And a lot of times, I mean, we hear things like everything you hear is not, granted, is not always true and not necessarily good for necessarily you. What works for me may not work for you, but then there's some tried and true things that there. But it's not for lack of knowledge; it's just for lack of us having faith in something other than this is my opinion, the system that has controlled us and programmed us up until this point to accept certain things as because it's coming from these authorities, so-called authorities, that's the truth. But you and I both know that most of the things that are created and I want to say tampered with, natural things are tampered with to create alternatives. I would call those alternatives to the real thing, are things that keep us in a state of needing to stay on certain things in order to survive. It doesn't cure us. It just puts us in a pattern of, you got to take this for the rest of your life or else. And they put something in it that if it was just natural, probably we would be fine in a matter of, who knows, days, weeks, months, rather than, going for years. I mean,
Yeah, it's a medicine, and we become the people, unfortunately, have become indoctrinated with medicine or medical sense, and the human physiology and the people are, you experience the backlash of the adverse effects. For example, iatrogenic diseases, drug-induced disease. Hundreds of thousands of people pass away every year because you're taking in a molecular structure that's not found in nature. And as I always stated, if it does not contain life, it cannot give life. And that applies to the food that we consume every day, whether it be what people think, like, for example, chocolate. People think commercially they're buying chocolate. However, it's a confectionery. It's not real chocolate, period. And all the big names out there of the commercialized candy bars. Well, those are confectionaries. And then they're comprised with extreme refined and adulterated ingredients. And the ingredients has toxic ingredients. So you're dealing with a highly toxic synergy that is causing decay in the gut, creating amyloid plaque in the gut, amyloid plaque in the brain. So people, what we have to do to get the health out there, we have to be able to mentally elevate our consciousness to get to that next level and connect with nature. And one of the I guess reasons that we are behind the 8 ball as Asiatic people is because we have been indoctrinated and programmed to and intercepted by the superficial things in life, the 2-car garage, the Mercedes, the Bentley, or whatever, instead of us, getting closer to nature, because we were supposed to be the gatekeepers. We wouldn't have to worry about bottled water if our ancestors had continued to do the due diligence generation after generation to preserve the water, even go to war to fight to protect the natural environment that we live in. I was reading a book by some time ago by Mark Twain, and he was talking about Lewis and Clark, and when they crossed the Mississippi River, and when they crossed the river, they could actually, the river was so pristine that they could see the fish at the bottom of the river. Okay, so these are things that we have unfortunately failed to pay attention to in the last 100 years or so. We've been so busy trying to keep up with the Joneses, trying to be competitive, instead of focusing on the things that gives us life, that sustains life, which is pure water, natural produce. I try to encourage young people to put on some overalls and get into gardening. I've showed you my garden where I had a nice yield of cucumbers and zucchini. And so instead of buying our offspring tools for gardening, and C's, we buy them video games and Xbox. So now they're mechanically is indoctrinated. So they are further away from what gives life. So that is a major error. We should, as far as cleaning up the streams, cleaning up the, the ocean or whatever, we should have been, you have different organizations out there, but the Asiatic people have been through such a struggle that has taxed our time and our focus, so to the point where we, next thing you know, there's a development that's destroying the wildlife in a particular area. Instead of say, hey, wait a minute, what are you doing cutting down all these trees? You look at what's going on in the Amazon, chopping down the trees for pulp, and making houses and paper or whatever. So we should have been the vanguard to protect this planet. You look at how many animals that have gone into extinction. I remember reading a document during the gold rush in California, and the state has the audacity to use the California grizzly as their symbol and the flag. However, during the gold rush and the silver rush out in California, they went out and then got into cattle farming, and so they classified the grizzly as a nuisance. Okay, so they killed the grizzly off, this beautiful creature, because of commerce, instead of working in harmony. So it's like, it's like in Australia, for example, you have what they call kangaroo burgers or roo burgers, because they felt that there was an overpopulation of kangaroos. So they decided to start killing them off, and processing roo burgers. Same thing with the beaver in certain areas. They're making beaver chili, and it's like, so, yeah. So we have been distracted. And so at the dinner table, we don't even know what we consume. You see a lot of our people consuming ramen noodles. Don't even have any idea how dangerous that plastic or whatever you want to call it is.
It's funny though, you were talking about how they have the Roo burgers and the whatever other thing you talked about, but we don't think about that in terms of the cattle, the beef, and the lamb, and even the chicken stuff. Because were we really designed to eat meat? Were we not supposed to be more vegetarian in our approach? It was one of our ancestors more. At some point, I'm sure they began to eat meat and fish, but early on, you see about the fruits, the grains, and so forth. The seeds are good for the healing and this. And so, when did we go from just being able to live and thrive on fruits and vegetables and nuts to needing to consume other sentient animals, beings?
Well, it was all about programming. It was all about commerce. Before the Second World War, most people only ate 4 ounces of beef, and when people ate animal protein, it was maybe a couple times a week. And you're talking about 4 ounces of beef that you can probably fit into the palm of your hand. So it was not until the insurance stockholders started investing in more calories. Like, hey, we want people to eat more beef. We want people to eat more pork. Like in the book I wrote, Stealing a Woman's Treasure, I talk about Edward Bernays, who was Sigmund Freud's nephew, who basically invented public relations. Okay, and so Beech Nut, the gum company, had a huge investment in pork and pork farming. So they wanted the American people to consume more pork. So he came up with the concept and the idea to put on billboard advertising this middle class family smiling at the dinner table, whatever, with this pork or bacon and eggs. Matter of fact, he ushered in the bacon and eggs. That's how bacon and eggs became a breakfast choice, through his public relations and getting it out there about eating more bacon, more sausage, So the same thing with fluoride. He was the same, individual that ushered in fluoride. In my book, MediSins, there was a chapter in there called Fluoride, how America really got brainwashed. Because, sodium fluoride is rat poison. It was the end byproduct from aluminum processing. So we pretty much have been programmed. And this is all about program. I encourage people to watch the movie The Matrix. And it actually, these are actual various programs that they insert in our mind that we're supposed to eat this, we're supposed to wear that, and the next thing you know, they have captured the psyche of the average people, because people now don't think for themselves. Again, going back to the food, consuming so much commercialized food. For example, canola oil, that comes from the rapeseed, is a weed. Canola oil just means Canadian oil, okay, which comes from the rapeseed that was used to make mustard gas. So vegetable oil.
Wait a minute, let me ask you something. Rape, there was a green, when I was growing up, there was a green that was sort of like a delicacy at my grandma's house when we would get sometimes, but and I thought it tasted so good. But if I'm not mistaken, it was called rape. Is that the same?
Well, the rapeseed plant is the actual weed that grows in Canada. Is abundance, and they extract oil from it to make canola oil. Okay.
So is it different than that green called rape, because it was a green that they literally called it. It was called rape. I was growing up, and when we did that, it was it was the tastiest green, that I could. I liked it better than collard greens and so forth. But it was called rape. But I don't know whether that was. But that was here, and that was here in in Delaware. So I'm not sure that we were importing a Canadian. Look into that, because you said it was
that's something to be investigated. But yeah, canola oil, vegetable oil, it's like, the masses of people never scratch their head and say, wait a minute, vegetable oil. I mean, I didn't know oil comes from vegetables. So,
what did you say it came from now?
Vegetable oil is a combination of maize or corn and canola. And so they create.
But you said canola is what?
It's from the rapeseed. That's from the wheat.
And so that's a wheat. I mean, you're not saying that all weeds are bad, because one of the greatest weeds is so-called dandelion, and that's
But they extract this oil from the canola up in Canada, and then again, you're talking about vegetable oil. So, so remember all the advertisement that caused people to transition from lard, which was actually much better and much safer to metabolize than vegetable oil. Vegetable oil.
Same as when there was this big controversy about margarine and butter, and then it kept flipping back and forth,
Yeah. I mean, these are chemicals. So, and I tell you how, in commerce, they take advantage of the people who live in the urban areas, the Asiatic people, because you can go to the grocery store in the urban area and you go to a dairy case and you see the majority of that case filled with margarine and a small portion of that case of real butter or butter. Right. But however, if you go up to the more prestigious areas, you'll see the bulk of the dairy case filled with real butter and a small area of margarine. Right. So we just have been taken advantage of, because we have allowed ourselves to be disconnected with what is natural. Okay, and we lost that intuition about how our body feels. We consume things, and we have the body gives you symptoms that something's not right. Okay. Now, for example, I like caramel cake. That's one of my favorite desserts. And so I patronized one sister that made it, and I never had any adverse effects from the caramel cake. Okay. Mm-hmm. I patronized someone else one time and bought the cake for $11. And then before I could even get through the one slice of that cake, felt like I was drugged, So it was a apparently it was a very cheap and refined flour that was used to make that cake. So again, we have to be more intuitive to what we consume and what we're actually giving our offspring, and so you're looking at when a child or offspring is growing up and you're constantly giving them refined food, that's going to compromise their cerebral metabolism and their cognitive function because it's not feeding the brain. It's not, so you see this is why, most hardened criminals are extremely magnesium and zinc deficient. That was a study done. And a lot of the hardened criminals or serial killers had a zinc deficiency. So we are missing many trace elements, minerals, cofactors, enzymes, vitamins, and things like that. And again, we have never, most of us have never, unfortunately, consumed real food. It's like when you buy produce, you see people buying produce. Well, it only takes nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium to grow a vegetable. That's all. But it's the soil is actually missing, all these trace elements and minerals. So so you're consuming more pesticides and insecticides in that commercial produce. So what's the difference between a organic cucumber and a commercial cucumber? Well, it has pesticides, and most people say, well, can I wash it off? No, you can't wash it off because it's used in the growth process. So it's in the cells of the produce. Wow. So so we have to think on a multidimensional level in order to get the health out, in order to avoid being a victim of medicine or medical sin, because what most of our people are challenged right now to this day, hypertension, hypertension meds, things like that to treat the symptom, but the body has the ability to become self-managing and self-regulating, but again, we've been put in this matrix of commercialization, and we've been indoctrinated to believe that this medication is going to sustain life, but that medicine is actually taxing your life because most meds are what? Unfortunately, most meds contain even fluoride, sodium fluoride. But what happens when you take in anything that's toxic? It wears down the kidney and liver because the liver and kidney is working overtime trying to purge the toxins to eliminate it from the body. But it's something about, I guess, the human brain that allows us to be so addicted to alcohol, to sugar, to cigarettes, to various types of drugs, and so we have been compromised, and we have been totally separated from what is natural, from universal law. And yes, so we have to elevate our consciousness. Most people don't even know how to eat properly. Like, for example, summertime. Most people consume bread and meat and cheese, not realizing these are winter foods, or these are foods that keep you warm. But people all throughout the year are eating bread every day, hamburgers and things like that, don't realize they're creating and manifesting or setting themselves up for a dis-ease during the winter months. So we should be eating more cooling foods during the summertime. And I just did a workshop.
Would that be like maybe salads and more like salads, fruits?
Yeah, I mean, you can have cucumber spears. You can have, tomatoes. I mean, again, no fried food, cooked food. We're eating too much, dead food, microwave food. Again, probably 95% of people in America got a microwave.
I don't. I gave mine away. That was one thing I listened to, and I gave a large one away. The guy was taking junk. He was taking metal and so whatever, scrap metal, and there was nothing wrong with it. So I gave it to him, which they probably used, and then I folded. And I was like, darn, everything I go, like now when you go to the store to actually purchase some of the things, you look on the back and you have to microwave it. I'm like, what if you don't have a microwave? And so I folded and I bought a I bought a big one again. I had it for less than a year. And this time, next time I got rid of it. I said, if it has to be microwave, then I'm just not going to eat it. And,
Yeah.
there's no microwave, in my house anymore. But it was, it was hard because, and even now, like I said, I just look back if it says microwave, I was like, can't get that. I don't have a microwave. But we have, you're right. We have been indoctrinated in that. And I want to go back a little bit when you were talking about the fluoride. Most people do know, but just for the sake of those who may not know about the negative health effects of fluoride. I mean, one of the things, people talking about being conscious is we've been told for a while is that it calcifies the pineal gland. So you're talking about being awakened or woke and having this higher level of, conscious awareness and going to this 5Ds. Well, you're not going to five nothing with a calcified pineal gland or with things. What else? What else? And then I hear about docility. It keeps people docile. But what else other than what I'm bringing out as a
Fluoride can actually cause bone degeneration over time. Of course, it will destroy the actual construct of the teeth, the enamel, and so there's so many.
Let me stop you. So fluoride is detrimental to the teeth, so it helps with the dental industry because
Exactly.
if you're using fluoride, which I don't, and if when I go to get teeth cleaned, they always want to give you somebody's toothpaste and the toothbrush, and of course I use what is it? I use one of those little not little, but it's electric. And because sometimes they say we brush too hard and we mess with the enamel. I do not use their toothpaste at all. I use a non-fluoride, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. Don't go to the cheap store. I'm not going to name the where everything costs. Under a bit of whatever those things are. I don't even know who's on that dollar bill, but you know what I'm talking about. They push it in those places. You can get a great big old tube of somebody's name brand toothpaste with fluoride, and it's $1. So people would rather pay $1 for something that's actually hurting them and their children. Sorry about that. I'm in a high crime zone, high alarm zone. We have a what do you call it? Fire station right here, and a place where the emergency things right around the corner. So they always sort of like emanate from here. So I'm just asking an apology for the noise. But what I'm saying is, it seems to me that a lot of these industries, a lot of these so-called drugs or personal care products that we use are in cahoots with various other parts of industries. Because if you're using fluoride, they're forcing you to the dentist. Our ancestors probably didn't even have to go to dentists. Well, they probably weren't that. If they really lost a tooth, they probably yanked it out themselves. But other than that, they probably had very, very strong teeth because they weren't taking stuff that was robbing them of the calcium and various things that degenerate. But here we are, something that the industry, the dental industry, is pushing. That if you do consume that, it's pushing you to have to go to them. What else are we taking that is a feeder, if you will, into some other profession that we now we have to get this kind of care because we've been consuming this, and if you do that, it'll take you to this person or this kind of need of care.
Well, I mean, you have to keep in mind the drug industry, the commercial food industry, they eat at the same table. So it's the business of disease that the share and stockholders support because they want you to be sick. I mean, it's nothing personal. This is just business. Okay. So without getting emotional and personal, it's all about business. It's just like, again, when you consume white flour, white sugar, you are denaturing your body. You're basically taxing all the minerals. Weston Price, who wrote a book back in the 30s called Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, he traveled the world and was quite intrigued by the indigenous people all around the planet. And he even stated, he said, the people that when he traveled, whether it be Africa, whether it be Hawaii, South America, and he was extremely impressed because the indigenous people will have some of the finest dental arches and bone structure that he had even seen. And his quote was, these people had the finest dentures and or dental caries and not dental caries, but dental structure and bone structure before they came under the influence of the white man's foods of commerce. Okay. So, when the white flour, the refined salt, even Max Gerson, one of the most eminent medical doctors in the history, even stated the same thing. When the refined salt and sugar started being imported, basically the body started to decay. Disease starts to proliferate. Same thing with Japan. There was a study in Japan. Japan, the Japanese had, basically very, very good health before they start indulging in the American lifestyle of sugar, coffee, white flour. Then stomach cancer started to rise because of the white sugar that was constantly consumed. So, it's just like when you go into MSG, monosodium glutamate, most people don't realize you can't just, you won't see MSG on just the label. It's under maybe 15, 20 different names because it was a flavor enhancer, but it's what they call an excitotoxin, like aspartame, and it really makes you docile. It causes blood stagnation, and it definitely slows down the cerebral metabolism. And, most people, dementia is very prevalent now. Right. Dementia, Alzheimer's. Well, we lose a lot of brain cells and neurons die off after 35. Okay. And so there was one study that had stated that dementia actually can start as early as 49 years old. But, as we get older, we have what they call a monoamine oxidase B inhibitor. It's an enzyme that eats up the dopamine in the brain. Okay. So we take things like the Grand Sheik takes the Showu Chi. Well, it has the Fo-T or the polygonal multiflorum or the Showu. It has different names. Ho Showu. Well, it actually inhibits that monoamine oxidase B inhibitor and keeps the dopamine thriving. Okay. And
I need to take my Showushi too, right? Yeah.
It's a kidney liver tonic, and I think some people out there may have heard of Dr. Lee Ching Young, who lived over 200 years, who died in 1933, and that was one of the herbs that he consumed on a regular basis, along with ginseng and all the different herbs that stimulate kidney function, because the kidneys are the essence of life. And because we, as Asiatic people, are so stressed, whether it be a relationship, whether it be finance, whether it be so-called racism, we're a stressed people. So we have to learn how to control that. And that comes from, traditional Chinese medicine is phenomenal, because it helps keep balance, because we deal with either excess or deficiency. Kidney yin or kidney yang condition. So we don't have that balance. So we don't breathe properly. We don't get out and do, I promote my mentor, Dr. George Love, who's a Blue Dragon Qigong master, who I've been studying Qigong on and off since 95. And so it helps us to move.
Yeah, I'm jumping in, but that is what Dr. Love is in his late 70s or
he's 72.
Okay. Oh, he's in early 70s. But anyway, it seems so simplistic, the Qigong. And a couple of times I got up and work out with with the videos, but the most amazing thing that I can say about the Qigong is that a few days ago, I don't know, was it Saturday, my friend, Sister Deborah, who a lot of times I don't think she's on the call tonight. I don't see her popping up in the comments, but Sister Deborah is working with you, and she was here visiting her and her husband or her consort the other day from North Carolina. And the first thing I did, I joined them in matrimony 19 years ago this month. Yeah, this month, 19 years ago, and they're still together. And I looked at her. I've known her 20 years almost, and I have never seen her looking as radiant and as thin. You know, what I mean, she's not skinny or anything, but I think I'm bigger than her now, in overall. And I said, "What are you doing?" And she says, "I'm doing Dr. Love's Blue Dragon Qigong, and I said, well, I said, Dr. Botanica. She said, yes, and I'm following Dr. Botanica's plan, and I'm doing." She said, "But the Qigong has really revved her metabolism up," and she said, "I'm up at 5 in the morning doing from the videos, because she said she can't do the live because she has to be off to work, so she does the videos that are already there at 5:30 in the morning." And when I tell you I saw the difference in her Saturday, I was shocked. I said, "Oh my goodness!" I said, "Dr. Botanica been trying to get me to do it regularly for months. And I said, "And you're doing it, and I can see what it's doing." You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
she encouraged me, and I said to her, I said, "Well, what about Dennis, her husband?" She said, "He's getting ready to, because he sees." I said, "What about Dennis?" And she said, "Oh, he's got his products from Dr. Botanica, and he's going to start doing it because it has absolutely made a difference in her life. Something so simple, you know. She started going heart, liver, lungs, kidneys, spleen, doing the little. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want to say thank you. I want to say thank you, for helping my sister with that.
yeah. Learning to being mentored by Dr. Love took my practice to a whole nother level. And because we have to be multidimensional, it's not about working out in the gym. Because I've seen people that look like The Rock, literally drop dead from a heart attack. Okay, I've seen people that look like perfect swimmers drop dead from a heart attack. So it's not just about working out. It's not just about supplementation. You can have the best supplements, and if you don't incorporate quality exercise, like things like Qigong, to enhance the bioavailability of the supplement, and start moving that breaking up that blood stagnation. A lot of inflammation is due to blood stasis, and when women have fibroids, it's due to blood stagnation, blood stasis. Shoulder pain is due to blood stasis. So you have to be able to break that up and get into breathing. There's one exercise called fire breath, where you take as much air as you can through your nostrils, hold it, and exhale. And it's called fire breath. And there's so many different Qigong exercises that improve flexibility, strengthen bone tendons. So it's a combination of proper supplementation, like Qigong exercise, detoxification, fasting or juice feasting. So we have to get into this lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that can make a major difference. And it's just also about the will, and it's like I could set like the best professionalized supplements, but you have to conceive in your mind that this is going to work for you. Like I said, I have one of the most successful end-stage non-small cell cancer case studies, but it's people say, "Oh, you cure cancer." No, I don't cure anything. I provide that individual or that man or woman or child with a protocol that stimulates the body's own healing powers or recuperative powers. Of course, these things are going to lie dormant if you don't consume the right food. You don't take certain things that's going to stimulate your T cell production, strengthen your bone marrow, tone and invigorate your kidney liver system, like the Shou Qi. That is a kidney liver tonic. And it actually, as you know, can help minimize the proliferation of gray hair, because the kidneys control the hair. And it's also being connected to the times. Like, for example, I was handing this out this past weekend for a group in Kansas, and how the body really works around the clock. Okay, so again, when you see people, they get lunch, they eat lunch between 11 and 1 because that's their lunchtime. So instead of them taking a siesta or taking a cat nap or just sitting in the car or whatever, just meditating or just getting maybe some juice or something, they eat a heavy lunch. Well, they don't know that they're taxing their heart, because that heart requires blood and energy during that time. But instead, it has to, that blood and energy has to rush to induce peristalsis, which is the turning of the muscle to break down the food in the stomach. So people are really taxing themselves. It's just like, if you don't get that sleep right around 3 a.m., if you're not, getting that sleep, it's going to put a lot of pressure and stress on that pulmonary system. And then when you break fast, you have breakfast, because that's when your stomach, your spleen, pancreas, and large intestinal area, that's when you eliminate. At least you're supposed to anyway. So the body's.
What time should you be breaking fast? What time should one be breaking fast?
Between 7 and before 9, because that's when the large intestine stomach is most active. So you get people getting up late and they're not eating until 11 o'clock. So, we start eating in the morning a small, even if it's just a small piece of fruit or a superfood that you can just consume with water. As you know, in my dispenser, I carry many different types of superfoods, whether it be a combination of wheatgrass, barley, spirulina, chlorella, moringa, or if you want to just do acai, in the morning or something like that. But something that's going to stimulate that digestive system and stimulate those adrenals. Most people in the morning, they're in traffic, attempting to get to work on time, and they're stressing themselves out because they never jump-started their adrenal glands, whether it be Celtic salt, because the kidneys need salt, contrary to the medical sins that are promoted in the doctor's office, staying away from salt, which they mean sodium chloride, which is an isolate. But you have to jumpstart your kidneys. If it's not Celtic salt, pantothenic acid, which is B5, or some type of adaptogen like ginseng. If you have hypertension, you can do American ginseng, rhodiola, suma, a pseudo ginseng like a Luthero or Siberian ginseng, something like that. You jumpstart your adrenals, and because your adrenal gland produces what? Cortisol, which is your stress hormone, which takes you all the way out of balance, which proliferates stagnation, stress, pain, and inflammation.
Belly fat.
Belly fat, definitely belly fat. Most people can't lose that stubborn visceral fat just wrapped around their waist, for the simple fact, number one, they need to fast, because the liver holds up to 7 pounds of fat. And once that's maxed out, you have fat cells in the bloodstream. So that's the whole beauty about juice feasting. I don't know if I talked about this before. When I met Dr. Love, I was about 242 pounds. I had just finished my last semester at the International College of Traditional Chinese Medicine in New Mexico. And I saw Dr. Love at an industry show. So I went down there, and I was about 242. Okay. So it's like, I'm going to have you do a juice feast. So I did a 3-week juice feast. Every morning we jogged on the beach, did our Qigong, and I dropped 37 pounds in 3 weeks. I went down 2 sizes in by the second week. And when I did cheat, I would go to this place called Kansai to sip on some miso soup, But yeah, that was my very first bona fide juice feast or fast, which was consist of a fruit fast, low glycemic fruit like berries the first day, and then we would do the carrot, beet, celery juice. And then you do fruit juice once a day, because you don't want to be too extreme and detoxified. Another fiber that's very effective when you're doing a juice feast is agar powder, which is a sea vegetable. So it goes into the mucosa and pulls out a lot of the plaque and toxins or whatever. And
can you repeat
agar
that?
powder, agar, AGAR. And it's used to make,
that's that white stuff that makes stuff like
Jello.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so you get real agar powder. You know, you put it in
How do
a
you
small
take that?
portion.
Well, how do you
Well, you
take
just put
that?
it in the. We will put it in the juice, the carrot, beet, celery juice in the morning, first thing in the morning, and then okay, you know, of course, when you're doing juice feasting, when you're approaching that stage of ketosis, you want to supply your brain because it's not the body that really requires the calories; it's the brain. Those neurons will start to go, you know, ballistic if you're not feeding the brain. So, you know, we do spirulina, bee pollen, ginseng that will fortify the brain to take you through the day because it's all about energy and taking foods. It's like when one eats right and you're taking proper supplementation, you only really need to eat once a day. One of my routines is I'll have a protein shake or superfood, but I have a formula that is comprised of bee pollen, royal jelly, propolis. And I take it, you know, I know some people that are not advocates of, you know, the bees or whatever that are vegans, but this stuff gives you superior energy. Royal jelly is specifically anti-aging. But for, you know, one day it was about 90 something degrees and I only had eaten one day, but because I had supplemented, did 2 hours of straight lawn work with no fatigue. That's because you're tapping into those adrenal glands and that endocrine system. Okay. And also before while I'm thinking about it, speaking of the endocrine system, you talk about a hygiene sin or a medicine is you see people out there constantly rubbing their hands everywhere they go. They're using this solution, which
Sanitizer.
has triclosan in there, which is a endocrine disruptor. And instead of just going to the bathroom, washing with hot water and soap, which kills the germs, they're constantly using this gel and they're taxing their adrenal system or their endocrine system.
Wow.
Okay.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So that's another instance. Because of what's going on, they're saying, every place you go, there's something, either it's in the gel or there's the stuff you pull up out of the, with the little sheets that you
Yeah.
tear off.
Yeah.
Same thing. So every place you go, you're doing that. You're doing
Yeah.
it. There was a question in the chat, and it was whether or not let me pull it up. Oh gosh, I saw it. Had to do with cold water. Oh, where did I see that? Oh, here we go. Let me pull it up. El Nucleus Bay says, "Does cold water shock the system?" Because I hear things both ways about not drinking cold water, but that when you take a shower, you should use cold water because So, what's the difference between the cold water not taking in the body versus the cold water that's okay, say when you get in the shower?
Well, consuming cold water shock and basically interrupts the balance of the spleen. Okay. As you go to other countries over in the East, you notice they even when they consume soda pop, they consume warm or hot soda because that cold water will shock the spleen, which is not good. And this is one of the reasons you see so many people on Prevacid and Nexium because they have irritable bowel syndrome, acid reflux, because when you go to a restaurant, again, they serve you unconsciously ice cold water and people consume it,
Yeah.
and they drink it and they're what they don't know, realize that they're damaging the spleen. And that's why so many people in America have IBS,
irritable bowel syndrome, right?
Yeah, irritable bowel syndrome, acid reflux, because they've been consuming too much cold water. It's like when you go to a Japanese restaurant, what do they serve you? Hot green tea, because you're jump starting and preparing your spleen so you can properly because the spleen governs the whole digestive system. So you should be consuming green tea or some other herbal tea. It can be chrysanthemum, oolong tea or whatever, and it's going to help balance the spleen. And for people that have, gastrointestinal problems or spleen imbalance, something called guipi tong that's phenomenal. Guipi tong,
Sounds like wavy tongues.
Guipi, it's GUI. Yeah, it's
This is room temperature, and
yeah.
this is my garlic and parsley water that I posted about on yesterday. But I actually made it like too strong.
Mm,
I drank it and it went like right to the head, so I ended up diluting it with um like when it was half empty, putting water in it because it's so strong. But this is what it looks like in its too strong state. It's very green, as you can see the
mm.
difference. But this is garlic and parsley water. Um,
Wow. Okay.
that's I was turned on to by Prime Minister Grant Sheik's Daria Baby because she noticed that my feet were swelling, and I've been dealing with the blood pressure and everything, and so this reduces the blood pressure and the swelling, but just like garlic and parsley, and I've been seeing results with that. But I'm just saying, since we're talking about getting the health out, so many things we can become our own. What do you call it? Kitchen physicians. It's stuff
Kitchen
that
physician. Yeah. Yeah. And going back to
I'm gonna
the
drink this. Look, I'm gonna drink this while you talk, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put you on solo because in case I flinch when I drink it because it's still strong. I want folks to see me. They can see me when I come back.
Okay, well, going back to the other part of cold water, yeah, showering in hot water as hot as you can tolerate it, for maybe 30 seconds or so. Turning on ice cold water because what happens is the water, it does shock the system and it brings the blood flow immediately to the surface. So it does enhance the immune system when you do a hot cold shower twice a day.
So
Very,
you
very
start
good.
with the hot and go to the cold.
Right. Because if you go that's why the bathhouses, like the Russian bathhouse.
That's what I was getting ready to say. I go to a Russian bathhouse up in PA, and we do sit in the hot, like the hot room with the boards and then all that, and then we do the cold plunge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you go in about 106-degree hot temperature in water, and then you go into the 40-degree pool.
No,
the shocks.
no, it's like 160, 70 degrees in that thing, and then it's like below.
Oh, in the sauna, yeah.
Yeah, when you go to the Russian bathhouse, the cold plunge is like diving into ice cubes.
Yeah.
It's not the 40 degrees.
Oh, yeah, it's very, very cold. And there's one in Atlanta called the Jeju. They have the igloos. They have the ice cold igloos. They have the cold igloos. If anyone, it's a great adventure. But yeah, these are therapies. These are different modalities that can bring the body back in balance because there's so much stagnation in the body from, again, not to mention, again, there was a group called the Environmental Working Group, right? It's about 10 years ago. They did an article called Not So Pretty. Well, the petrochemical industry or products, they were sending these waste byproducts into products that were marketed to Asiatic women. Now, this is not coming from me. This is coming from the Environmental Working Group. It's a group of European women that created this organization, right? And so, it wasn't just parabens. It was all type of chemicals because, I had been a member of the Cancer Control Society for about 20 years, and shampoos actually proliferate or increase the risk of breast cancer because it elevates the estrogen, and because of the xenoestrogens. Now, they have been talking about there was one particular doctor, Dr. John Lee, back in the 70s, was way ahead of his time and was forewarning the doctors about the advent of xenoestrogens through plastic, through shampoos and things like that. Our women are drowning in estrogen, because we're exposed to so many things that mimic estrogen. Okay, not to mention the plastic, like say that was the beginning, that was the tip of the iceberg. But the shampoos, the conditioners, things like that, and most women don't realize, no pun intended on the OBGYN, but they don't educate women on the importance of, estrogen and estrogen, different types of estrogen. You have estradiol, estriol, then you have progesterone. You have all these different hormones that are all over the place because of what you consume, what you use on your body, your hygiene, personal care, nail polish when you go into the nail shop. Okay. Well, that has formaldehyde in it. Those are highly toxic chemicals that permeate, that elevate estrogen. When you pump your gas, you're breathing in those molecules from the chemicals. Well, that's elevating your estrogen. So, most women that have these conditions like fibroids, endometriosis, breast cancer, things like that, is due to the elevation of estrogen. And most young girls, the earlier you come on your cycle, the greater the risk of you developing cancer, because you got to deal with all that estrogen. Instead of a young girl coming on her cycle at 13, maybe 13 years old, they're coming on a cycle now 8, 9 years old. So, and I've seen women as young girls as early as 18 develop breast cancer. So you got to deal with all that estrogen. But again, if we're not privy and we're not educated on how our body really works, this is why men have a much lower testosterone level than they did maybe 50 years ago, because they too are exposed to too much estrogen, not just from plastic, but things that are in the food. So now you're seeing men with more prostate problems, different types of functional problems because of their exposure to estrogen, and that's depleting the testosterone. So we have to become more connected to nature and get away from the commercialization of food and the medicines, because again, most people that are on these medications are compromising their kidney function, and it's compromising their production, or reproductive system rather.
Let me ask you this. What is your feeling on the role of mental conditioning and physical illness? In other words, can programming, constant hearing of symptoms and certain things that people hear on a rotate, it's just coming, you're always hearing this. Could those types of things actually create this dis-ease in one's body?
Yeah, because they're constantly promoting the boogeyman, with this abomination. So anything, and this is all through public relations. These people they understand how we function, how the brain really works, and how we become so vulnerable and naive and gullible to certain things. So we have to be able to elevate our consciousness and be able to turn it off. Because it will affect the entire physiology. It will create a dis-ease, just like when you become emotional. When you become over emotional, for example, grief. 15% of the lung cancer case studies, according to studies, these people had never smoked, but they dealt with grief, so they developed lung cancer. You can die from a broken heart. Okay, so emotions have a major effect on the adrenals, kidney function. I'll give you a prime example. About 4 years ago, I was waiting. It was on a Friday, and I was waiting on a very important shipment of a perishable that needed to be refrigerated. Okay, and so the UPS driver went to the wrong door, and my client said, "Hey, I just saw the driver, and he just took off." So it was around maybe 5 o'clock, and I called the supervisor at UPS, and I'm like, "Hey, I need this perishable, and I can't make it out there in time." So she was like going back and forth with me. I'm not going to send my driver back out there because he's already made the attempt. Well, he made the attempt at the wrong door. And so we got back, I was so upset. This is the honest to God truth. I was so upset that it affected my L5. Okay. And I felt this surge of pain from we were going back and forth arguing. I was so, again, got emotional, upset because I needed this perishable and it's not going to be any good, and it went to my back. And for 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks, I could not get in the car and travel. It took me 2 minutes or so just to get set into the car. Wow. And I was walking around. So, oh man, you got to go to the chiropractor. You may have to have surgery. I'm like, not. I'm not going to indulge in that medicine. So what I did was, and I mean, this was excruciating pain. You're talking about from a 1 to a 10. I was a 12. That's how much pain it was tearing pain. So what I did was took a systemic enzyme, okay, which was one of the brands that I carried. That's from Germany. That's been around since 1948. And systemic enzymes are phenomenal. They modulate the immune response, and they're excellent for inflammation. So I was taking like 24 tablets a day, and did a patch. And then I got back into Qigong because I had not been doing my Qigong in a while. So I started doing Qigong, and I was back to normal, okay, without seeing a chiropractor, without any medication. I did take one. I was in so much pain. I took it one day. I said, no, I'm not going to get it, indulge in these things. So I ordered the systemic enzyme and started, and also a kidney tonic called Lu Wei Di Hung Wang, and started stretching and doing the Qigong. And after the second week, I was getting better, and I went back to normal. So the body has the ability to heal itself. Another example, I was on an Amtrak train, and they put on the brakes. It was emergency stop, and I was going down the stairs, and my left knee hit the steel pole very hard. And, it basically healed because I had been on enzymes and things like that. So the body has the ability to not only heal, but resist. Once you take the right modalities, and again, there's no panacea, because you hear people talk about sea moss, you hear people talk about black seed. The body is very complex. You have to have a synergy of vitamins, minerals, enzymes, cofactors, tonics, to tone and invigorate the body. It's just like you can't survive just on one food. There is no panacea. So incorporating exercise, as we stated before, Qigong, things like Qigong, breathing, meditation, hydration, and this is how we reconnect with universal law. Because if we don't realize that we can actually turn this madness off, but we have to be able to control our emotions. We have to stop embracing this boogeyman concept, or getting into so emotionally tied into relationships. One of the examples that I use about emotion, remember the great fight between Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. Okay, and it shows you how strategy can conquer many things. And here's George Foreman pounding Muhammad Ali to a pulp. And anybody that knows boxing knows how strong George Foreman was. He would break somebody in two with his punches. But Muhammad Ali kept his composure and developed the rope-a-dope. That was a strategy. And he, again, defeated George Foreman. It's like Bruce Lee's philosophy, become water. We have to learn how to navigate around the negativity. We have to learn how to flow, and that's how we can defeat our enemy on any level. We have to be able to learn to strategize. If you have cancer, it's like deal with it. Matter of fact, Dick Gregory and I were very, very close for 24 years. When they diagnosed him with lymphoma, which was a cancer, he said he don't know how he got it because that type of lymphoma that he had was someone that would be working in a nuclear plant. And I remember his wife, she was crying, and he said something along the line. He said, if you think I'm gonna leave that good stuff, you out of your mind. So he defeated that particular type of cancer. First of all, it was will. Again, my very first case study was in 2000. Gentleman that had stage 4 non-small cell lung cancer with brain metastasis. They, and the meta-analysis with that, less than 3% of the people probably live beyond a year. But he was willing and determined to beat the cancer because he saw his wife pass 2 years prior from cancer of the palate. So that's what will and strategy can do. One of the things I encourage people to watch if they haven't seen it, a great documentary called "What the Bleep Do We Know?" Is on quantum physics. And so we can actually train our mind to address certain conditions, but emotions will tax your immune system and create a dis-ease, because most people that are in pain, a lot of them are miserable, a lot of them are constantly angry. We have to learn to flow with nature.
I know I can't let show this something because it's gonna the green screen part. We put my hands over this part so you can see it. But this book, when you start talking about that, which the late Louise Hay wrote, "You Can Heal Your Life." I'm sure you know about that. In the back part of the book, it has all of these various medical problems, but they're all tied to probable causes, just like you said. For instance, like anger. And then it says, this one is tied to anger, and then it gives a new thought pattern. So there's a lot of things, like you said. I just thought about it when you said emotions, because emotions are just that, energy in motion. So where you place your energy, if you place your energy in creating a dis-ease, because I don't know how many times I've been given a diagnosis, a possible diagnosis. I remember they kept trying to give me sarcoidosis, a diagnosis, and I was like, I don't have that. And even though I was having, and still, from time to time have issues with breathing and so forth, even though my grandmother died of tuberculosis and different things, I have consistently said over the last 25 plus years, I don't have that. And so to this day, I don't have a diagnosis of that. But I think if I had people calling me up, one of my relatives, oh, once you get that diagnosis, once you get that, you got it for life. And I was like, but I don't have it. And she's still dealing with it to this day, and I've never accepted it. So it was a choice that I made. I made a choice not to have what they said that could be. If it could be, then it could not be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I mean, if a doctor tells you, if you've been diagnosed, he said, you got a 6 months delay. He tells you you're going to die in 6 months, and you buy into that, you're dead in 6 months.
Or maybe 5.5.
Yeah, or sooner, because you've all of a sudden developed this sorrow, and woe is me to say, no, I don't think so. There are people, of course, that were, it was stated that they would never walk again, and they walked. Mm-hmm. So you cannot allow anyone to give you any type of detrimental sentence or death sentence. You got to be able to connect. Again, I can't stress that enough, is to reconnect with the unseen. And that's what that documentary, What the Bleep Do We Know, on quantum physics talks about. We have to elevate our thought. It's just like even with habits, if you're a gambler, and I told you my incident with gambling at one point. And one day I just say, like now it will make me regurgitate if I even pull on a casino's parking lot, so you can turn these things off. Potato chips was my weakness at one point. I could walk down the aisle and see kettle chips all day long. It doesn't bother me. So people that have these vices, once you start elevating your consciousness and you have the will, you can refrain from that, and so you don't have to embrace these vices or these sinful vices, or like I said, these MediSins. If you've been on a statin drug, which, kills the heart cells, but if you will yourself out of that matrix of indoctrination, you can, you can come out of that. You can get the health out, of that matrix. And that's what we have to do. We have to also start embracing our ancestors. There's nothing new under the sun about healing. I mean, and there's so many pioneers that have been out there, but again, you will never see the mainstream like Linus Pauling, Alvina Fulton, who was the first Asiatic female naturopath, Harry Hoxsey, Charlotte Gerson, Paul Brown, all these different people, Jethro Kloss, whoever, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Dick Gregory, of course, and because again, when you look at, and money cannot buy you optimum health. I mean, it can help you afford, but it cannot technically save your life. Knowledge is power. Knowledge and information is power. So you look at all these, I have a list of over 160 icons that passed away prematurely, and they were millionaires and billionaires, and there was one CEO of McDonald's that was 48 years old, died of stomach cancer. There was one of the CEOs of Louis Vuitton, pancreatic cancer, CEO of AT&T, stomach cancer. So it goes on, and then you see all these celebrities dying of stomach cancer, some type of cancer, heart disease, COPD, things like that. So you have to be able to use that wealth or whatever amount of finance you have to invest in your health. Like you were just saying before about people buying the dollar toothpaste. Mm-hmm. You have to invest in your health because you cannot take it with you. Whatever amount of money or what type of car you drive, they're not going to bury that Bentley or Mercedes with you. You might as well live your life in a humble manner. It's the key to a prosperous life is simplicity. It's just like we have to elevate our consciousness to the intelligence of animals. You ever see animals don't have stress. They live in harmony with nature.
That's right.
They live a very simplistic lifestyle. But we're trying to constantly be competitive, compete with one another. And that is the downfall of humanity. That is the fall of humanity.
They don't worry about dying and stuff like that. So they have, when death comes, which is a transition, they just go with it. Most of us kill ourselves worrying about dying, stressing out and so forth. I want to put this question up because someone had a question. Here's a question. Someone asked, Crypto Yo says, any herb to get rid of polyps and inflammation in the sinuses?
It's a system. And I always tell people it's not a particular, there's so many different modalities out there. It's a system. It's a combination of detoxification, what works with your physical constitution. And that's why you really can't shoot health from the hip, and you'll see, take this, you go to the health food store. Well, do you know the appropriate dosage? Do you know, do you understand, does the company, like if you went to a store and you bought a brand for polyps or whatever it may be, well, do you know the track record of that brand? Does that brand have proven efficacy? Okay. What are the, not only the main ingredients, what are the byproducts in there? Does it contain magnesium stearate? That's why I don't use products with magnesium stearate, because it can compromise the thymus gland. There are other binders and fillers that are toxic. So you have to be real mindful, and also looking at the company that has a great track record, like the enzyme that I use, that's out of Germany. It's been around since 1948. They sell over $80 million a year in Europe right now. So, so it has a very efficacious production or track record. So we have to, we can't just focus on one thing. When people tell you like, again, sea moss is great, but will sea moss service your condition? Will black seed service your condition? Will echinacea or ashwagandha service your particular condition? You have to have a system in place, or talk to somebody like myself or Brother Dave about a system that, or Dr. Love, about a system that you need to help the body reach a balance, because it's a very complex. How, and when you talk about shamans are so connected with nature. If you got bit by a spider or snake, whatever, okay, they know which plant to use to help reverse or prevent that fatality in the bush.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things, we talk about, we allow ourselves to endure fear. Oh, this is coming to get you, is all these different things that are out there, they're giving you this boogeyman concept, and what are you fearing? Live life accordingly and basically be in harmony with nature. What people don't realize, human beings are a virus. Okay. There's a very close relation between human beings and virus. What do viruses do? Viruses spread and colonize, and they destroy. What do human beings do? This particular being has went around the world and caused nothing but death and destruction, just like a cancer. So, from my take, I think human beings are the cancer to the world because they're colonizing, they're refining, they're destroying,
they're deforesting, and
yeah. So we have two-legged cancers out there that are actual viruses. These people are the actual virus.
And what I've always said, that we act like cancer, if you will, if you think in terms of us in general as a body, when we start eating and beating and fighting against each other, that's like cancer in the body beginning to eat away parts, of our body. So there's a microcosm and a macrocosm, and it's the same thing depending on where you are on the spectrum. So I totally agree with you. But there's a question here. I'm going to post it up from Just Matic. I hope I'm saying it right. Dr. G, can you ask Dr. Botanica, is there a way the people can enter into some sort of arrangement whereby we can, quote unquote, retain him as our holistic, quote unquote, primary care practitioner / physician?
Absolutely. Again, I've been in the industry, again, as I told you, I've been studying since I was 9, or really before I was 9. But
I'm putting your contact information up again.
Yeah, and but I had kind of grandfathered myself in the industry. When I first got into the industry, I went to an industry show in Vegas, and it was probably about 80,000 people. You can count the number of Asiatics there. So I went to this booth to subscribe to this healthy food, healthy store merchant magazine, and the man that was there, of course, he was Albion, and he asked me. He said, looked at me real strange. Said, "What made you get into this?" I like, I've had an interest in it for a very long time. He said, "Well, because I didn't think your people were health conscious, and yeah, and I don't know what was his intent, but again, this is why you don't see the prominent health food stores and like I won't call their names, and this is why you see the bulk of the margarine in the urban area taking up majority of the case, and you go to the other area. So they kind of look at us as a very uneducated type of consumer. Okay. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I kind of I grandfathered myself in the industry because I want to know the industry inside and out. And so it had made my practice different because I wanted to gain product knowledge. Even Dr. Love was always, even when I met him later on, he's like, you always want to have good product knowledge.
Right. You have that. And I want to add that you have an earned PhD in what is it? It's in health science. So
your
PhD is in health science. So that's why you're so knowledgeable. You didn't do like I call them dumb degrees. When people, I should say that, but people get either DDs or somebody they confer something. You earned it.
Right.
Like I haven't earned doctor. I would not. It would have been wonderful to have a DD, but I went to school for 12 years and got a PhD, and you have a PhD in health science. So that gives you the credibility and support of why you can
Well,
sit
well,
here.
well, this book was really the instrument or the tool that helped me get that and earn that, because these people were so impressed because they had never seen a book like this. And again, like the book came to me in my dream in 2004, and one of the board of
It was your dissertation.
huh?
It was sort of your dissertation.
Yeah, exactly. And they were so intrigued because they had never knew the origin of the AMA. They never knew anything about the Bureau of Chemistry with Harvey Wiley. They never knew anything about Raymond Rife at the time. So they were really impressed. Like I said, I had already earned my diploma at the International College of Traditional Chinese Medicine. And even there, when I would hang out with a couple of Asian women, like one of the women was like, she said, why do your women get fibroids? We don't get fibroids, and they get PMS, and I said, and I said, I guess it's because of diet. And then I would get one of the other teachers would say, tell your people to stop eating so much fast food.
What is fast food? Fast food will kill you fast. That's what it do. It'll kill you fast. That's what it's about. But even speaking about some of the things that we expect to get, now most women of all ethnicities expect at some point in their lives between, I guess, 40 and 60 or whatever to get to go through menopause. And we see women going through menopause. And I remember, see, this is just me. I'm just weird. Not weird. I'm just different. I remember saying, because I saw what my mother went through with a hot flash. We all of a sudden, you had to open the windows and it's like, well, what's going on with her? Now I just got a hot flash just now because I drank that garlic. That when that garlic water goes in, it just goes like it makes my body warm. But I'm just saying normally. So I made up my mind seeing my mother and other women having, going through they call it the change of life. I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going. And then I remember one time in church back in about 1990, and all of a sudden I got hot in the pew, and there was a brother that was sitting next to me, and because we were ministers on the ministers bench, and I said, are you hot? And he said, yeah, I'm hot. And then I thought, okay, I'm good because he's hot too. And here I am at 66, going on 67, and I have never I never dealt with menopause. They had to tell me that I was in menopause. My doctor did. Okay, by the blood, but I never had the symptoms. I never had hot flash. I never had emotional highs and lows. I had none of that. But I remember saying, "Oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go through that." But most women expect it and know it's going to come at some point. And they're not disappointed. They get it. But I rejected it when I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not getting that. And I've never had it.
Exactly. And so if you don't, again, you live life accordingly. You stay in harmony with nature, and you haven't, you program your own mind instead of allowing it to be programmed by someone else. And that's what happens. We accept these conditions. But this is all about programming, and that's why that movie, The Matrix, I always use that as a point of reference. These are programs that they create, and these people fall into these programs, and this is why we're in the crisis right now. It's like when I know some women out there still waiting on the book is going to go into another printing, but you just look at all these beautiful women here that have passed away from cancer, and
Gwen Eiffel, you say, is in your book. I just saw an interview that she did in 2011 with Valerie Simpson, which was a tribute to Nick Ashford, who had died from throat cancer. And Gwen Eiffel said that she has transitioned in 2016 from like an endometrial. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. And so if you're not careful, if you're not careful about programming, and this is a prime example about programming, where these people, as you see here, doctors were paid thousands of dollars to write articles, and also with advertisers. You see a pregnant woman smoking. It says what? It says the smooth taste for expected mothers. Okay, they were actually running these advertising. Yeah,
right.
And the taste isn't only the reason I smoke, and it's seeing a pregnant woman. So again, when you look at this is what one of the reason I wrote this book, because I got sick and tired of seeing women. Every time I see them, they have a slit in their throat. They had thyroid surgery, or they had a hysterectomy at 30 years old, partial or whole. And women, and women end up being completely castrated, which is going to proliferate extreme bone degeneration. Because when you're castrated, that's where you start dealing with what they call osteoblast, catabolic and anabolic activity with bone. So you have more bone breaking down than creating a balance. So this is where you see these women having osteoarthritis or osteoporosis, because they've been totally castrated, and so so basically the industry needs to be reformed without a doubt. It's just like there's a book called How Doctors Think. And there's a chapter that talks about within 6 seconds, the doctor's not listening to anything you say within 6 seconds. Okay. So we have to, again, reconnect with nature and elevate our high science of intuition and start, really asking for answers, and the universe will bring us the solution. But again, as long as we are allowing ourselves to embrace this boogeyman, we're allowing ourselves to embrace this form of abomination, and so, because, you will say it better than myself in the chapter of Revelations, chapter 18, verse 23. And I'm just quoting the end part of that, say, for thy sorcery were all nations deceived.
Right. Well, you know what sorcery deals with, that pharmacy or whatever, it's drugs.
Pharmacia, yeah. So when you do, so basically we cannot allow, and don't get me wrong, I've always tell, hey, medicine does have its place. I mean, I've always said, if you need insulin, yeah, you need insulin. If you need to get that blood pressure down, yeah, I think the problem occurs because there's not enough education in nutritional science, okay, in the industry. But again, if you have these conditions, yeah, it can be life-saving when you go to a hospital, or you have trauma medicine, you need surgery or whatever. Right. So I don't discredit. It's just I think behind the veil, you have sharing stockholders that they want to push certain things because that's their investment. Again, it's nothing personal. You just have to know how the game works. That's and true. You got to be able to know when to hold and when to fold when it comes down to a certain type of medication. Do you want to really get better, or you just want, you want to just go through the motions in life? Right.
I have a question here. I think it's just I'm gonna put this up. Jason Mangrove says Dr. Scott Whitaker said that he's coming out with MediSins 2. Are you guys collaborating together to come out with the second book?
Not at all. Not at all. And again, people need to understand that Scott was brought into my vision of the book after I've written 80% of the book. Right. And because I was forewarned about not even say, hey, you don't even need a co-author. You practically finished the book. But I just wanted to again try to do the right thing, because we had collaborated on some things before. And but I don't, like I say, I'm not mad at the brother, and again, he just have to beat me to the punch. But I respect his tenacity and what he has done to promote the book. Those I think there was some ethics, and there was some things that should have not been done. But I'm not mad at the brother because a visionary, as you saw, I got other things that I'm, Whole Foods,
Whole Foods.
The miseducation of health, and then stealing a woman's treasure. So, it's not about competition. If the brother wants to do another book, I wish him the best, but a true vision, I've always been a visionary, as you know, I created the cover, the title, and all that. So just to set the record straight, and written over 80% of the book. And again, that endorsement
and your appellation or so-called name back then was
Jose Fleming.
Right.
Yeah, my birth name. Yeah. But the whole thing with the endorsement and Dick Gregory when Dick
That was your relationship with Baba Dick Gregory.
Now, and so Dick, basically he read part of the manuscript. He said, "I'll endorse it for you," and so Dick knew everything about behind the book and stuff like that at the time when he was alive. But yeah, just to always just have to set the record straight. It's unfortunate that I have to do that because I changed. I became a Moor. And did all my other.
You didn't become a Moor. You was already a Moor.
I was already a Moor, but changing the name, nationalized. But so people, so that name, it kind of like, phased out. So I got to constantly remind people, like, hey, this came from my dream in 2004. The title, the cover, and the content, So, but again, I wish the brother the best, and because it's not about being competitive. It's about servicing the people, disseminating information. And that's the problem with us. We try to compete with one another so much. That's why we're behind the 8 ball, because we're spending so much energy trying to compete instead of collaborating, and giving credit where credit is due. And that's one of the things that I had admired about Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory wasn't fame hungry. He was not money hungry, just like Grand Sheik. You see how humble Grand Sheik is, in spite of all the toxic spears sometimes, he's, basically very humble man, extremely, again, a scholar, a true scholar, So when you're a scholar, you don't have to get out there and try to fight and go back and forth. You got other work you got to do. And that's for little people. The people haven't really grown up. They're still grade schoolers fighting among one another. Because it's just like when you talk about an alpha male. An alpha male is not someone who's just big and strong and can bench press 300 pounds. The alpha male starts here in the mind. That's what an alpha male, again, you look at, again, people like Bruce Lee, was a big, strong guy, but he could defeat you with the mind. So could Muhammad Ali, so it's not this brute. People are, I'm an alpha male. No, the alpha male starts here.
Yeah. There, one thing I did want to bring up is the fact that, which disturbed me recently, and I made a couple of posts about it, that in the past, I guess, less than a week, right? Two melanated entertainers, very well known, in their own right, have transitioned. I think the comedian Fuquan Johnson and then Michael K. Williams have both allegedly died due to or transitioned from drug overdose use, and to me, like I said, I don't know what it is about people, period, that makes them gravitate towards these substances. And the fact that it's being well known now that these things are being, I don't think there's anything wrong with the natural herbs of the earth, but these things are being laced with fentanyl and other things that are taken, and you're playing Russian roulette with yourself. I mean, you may have been, smoking, for, the last 30 years, but what about when you get something that has fentanyl in it or something like that? What can we do? I know I'm switching, but what can be done to help steer the mind towards just believing or knowing that you have the power to heal yourself, to bring your, to me, if anybody's smoking weed, maybe it's because they want to chill, I guess. I'm not a weed smoker, but there are other ways. Are there other natural harmful ways that one can calm themselves, like, astrology? I mean, what are there other things that people who say
Modalities.
other modalities that can be utilized to bring calm to one's person, one's being, not person, one's being, without running the risk of an illegal substance being laced into their whatever they are getting out there on the street?
I mean, first of all, you got to be willing to be unplugged from the so-called matrix. If you're not willing to be unplugged, you're going to be consumed by the things in the matrix and things by these people are programmed, and so you see people, again, you wonder why when people have wealth, why do they want to indulge in excessive alcohol or recreational drugs and just to try it out? I remember a long time ago, for those that are basketball advocates, Len Bias had just got drafted, multi-million-dollar contract, went to a party with some brothers or whatever, and OD. I mean, indulging in the recreational things so we have to be able to, again, elevate our consciousness, and we have to be willing to be unplugged. We have to be able to, because we can be in one position of wealth or whatever, but for whatever there's something in the brain or in the spirit that allows us to succumb. Again, arrogance can be the most I guess, basically the main underlying cause of your fall is arrogance. I can do this, I can do that, I can handle this. No, you can't, because you don't know what that molecular structure will do to your heart, to your kidney, so we, for whatever reason, we become weak-minded in spite of our successes, and again, it's a combination, but things like Qigong, when you get into Qigong, I mean, I can never put a lot of, enough emphasis on Qigong. Once you start getting, because you get connected with nature, and when you're elevating that level, or to that level of spirit, again, you walk away from anything. You can ignore. I mean, I was around drug addicts, dealers, pimps, whatever, growing up. I seen all of that, but I was able to navigate, because it just didn't make sense to me. When I see guys smoking, oh man, you want to hit this? Because I would hang out with older guys. Like, no, it didn't make sense to me. So you have to be, it has to be innate with you, innate and natural, when you're able to rationalize and be able to discern if it's conducive for you or if it's toxic to you. And most people, regardless of their success, you've seen all these people, they fall short because of their arrogance and lack of humility, but they think because they are wealthy that they're Superman. Well, we've seen people like Steve Jobs, multi-billionaire, dies of pancreatic cancer. Pancreatic cancer, according to studies, has been curable since 1865, or reversible. So, when we get out of that realm of not being able to define what's real and what's fantasy, that's when we get lost. We end up going down that fantasy road, not knowing what's at the end of the tunnel instead of staying humble and staying on that straight and narrow path. Say, no, I think I'm gonna just, I'm gonna live like the squirrels or whatever. I'm gonna just, hang around with nature instead of
Yeah,
outside.
that's yeah, because I mean the way things are going though, and I said we weren't going to get into the V and the C, but we're going to talk about the we. But we need to, like you said, get reconnected to our source, reconnected. I mean, there's something. I mean, I used to do a thing called Nature Church, and on Sundays I would go and I would have my cell phone and walk through the Brandywine. And I would go up, and there was a region that I had never, all my life, lived here and didn't know that there was this upper region that took you like all the way up to the highway, like that where I would drive to. And I started going up, and every Sunday, if whether anybody showed up or not, I would go to the river, ducks would show up, and it would be like church. The ducks would come to the edge of the river and quack, and I go, okay, here the choir's here. So the ducks would quack a little bit. Then I'd go off on my walk, and I would talk to folks, and I would see things, and I took hundreds and hundreds of beautiful pictures and things I would never see. And it became my drug. It was addictive. And it wasn't until I hurt myself, well, just before that, but when I hurt when I got the tore both of my quad tendons, ruptured both quad tendons. Of course, I'm 2 years or more trying to recuperate. I'm still in a recuperative state, even, since 2017, but it took that away from me. But I found out that it became a necessity. And I'm assuming that's a lot like when people get on to they can become addicted, but it was a good addiction. It was healthy. And I felt like I was more in my element because I had become so accustomed to all of the trappings, everything electronic and everything, except for the phone that was helping me share with the world. I was in nature. And you don't know how good it feels until you actually get out there. Most of us live in concrete jungles. Everything that's, we have in this area where I am within, 6 blocks of the one of the most beautiful parks probably in the country. And so to be able to do that and get back into that, for me, it felt better than going to when I had the church in the morning and standing in front of those people preaching every Sunday. I called it Nature Church, and nature was ministering to me.
Exactly. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, I would that people would, if they have the opportunity, that there's something close to them where they can actually go and take their shoes off and put their feet in the ground and ground themselves and hug a tree, see the scrub. I mean, I'd never seen a chipmunk. I thought Alvin and the Chipmunks were what chipmunks look like until I saw a real chipmunk and took a picture of it. Little teeny thing. They're not even big. You know what I mean? But I'm saying I saw things in the woods that I would never. I have never seen the things that I saw. And
and that's what, when you see hummingbirds, you see, you take the time out to see a worker bee collecting pollen, a bumblebee, you're seeing, squirrels chase one another. You see, again, sparrows or a blue jay or a cardinal. I mean, this is what life is about. And I tell people, take a train ride across the country. So you can, you have people that fly across the country, so they really never seen the country. I tell people, take a train so you can see all this land, and stop and have a conversation with nature. Look at, whether it be a deer, an elk, whatever. You going out west, we should see a lot of like mountain goats and mountain lions periodically, and out there in Albuquerque. But this is beauty, and it allows you, when you connect with nature. It's like this shirt here says, "Know thyself." It brings you closer to yourself. It allows you to reflect on life, because again, a lot of us are in denial. It's like, what have you done truly for yourself lately, other than, just acquire synthetic things that really don't uh, proliferate happiness? Are you you can have wealth, but are you really happy? What have you done for a child, for a offspring, a young little boy, a little girl lately? What have you done for a senior? Have you said, one of the things that I loved about late Bob and Dick Gregory is whenever we would travel, he would always, if you get on the elevator, say, "Hey, how are you? How you doing? How's the family?" He would always say, "How's the family?" And Dick was always, very boisterous when he talked about Europeans. He didn't care where he was. But when he passed you by, he say, "Hey, how's the family?" So we have gotten so caught up in arrogance that we've lost that connection with nature. We don't. When the last time you actually just, outside of a zoo, looking at nature and having a concern about nature, about wildlife. We have not done that.
It changed me. I will say that, things that I used to take, like even if like now a bug, now I don't work good with ants. So I had some ants come in yesterday and get into my cat's food. And so I had to get the spray out. But those little, they call them these little crickets or a stink bug or something gets in the house. I used to kill those things. Now, if something gets in, I do everything I can to help it out, to get out of my house without killing it. I don't, before I felt such, like I said, my connection to and to everything became so much more intense and so much more. I felt I was connected. And how could if I killed that, then I'm killing a part of me. It changed me. It changed my, I would literally help a bug out of my house, except for ants. I won't help ants. I will spray them because they're not easy. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, other than that, it just made me connected more. And while you were saying some stuff, I was thinking about how we become more, how we just get stuff, and we don't appreciate what's naturally there. And then that stuff, it has no value after a while. And I don't know, in my book, I wrote a poem called Clutter, which actually, as I'm sitting here in my office, I'm still in that state of stuff, but what it says is, all around me, I can see things that one time interested me: clothes, books, shoes, junk, pictures, papers, and overstuffed trunk. So many memories from my past, things I need to discard and fast. Broken promises from advertisers, things that would make me thinner or wiser. All my indulgences I wanted, I got. But am I happy? No, I'm not. Wasted money, wasted time, forgotten memories in my mind. Oh, where did that come from? How could I have been so dumb? Got to get my life on course and clear the path of all remorse. I'm tired of all of this stress. I need deliverance from all this mess. And when you get out in nature, all that other stuff, all these acquisitions that we think we have to make in life, and things that, like I said, I got stuff that I'm getting ready to give to I don't care who. And Grand Sheik has a tendency when he's here. I'm getting rid of stuff. Like, I'll take that, I'll fix that. And I said, that's, but you won't let me throw it away because you're gonna take it, but it's still in my house. And common sense told me the other day, stop telling him you get ready to get rid of something and just get rid of it without telling him, because he keeps everything. But I'm at a place now where I want to simplify my life. I want to downsize because these things don't matter, and all they'll be is things that others will fight for, or maybe just toss away because it didn't matter to them either. So while you have the time and the ability to have, you're in your right mind, you have your health and strength, you can make choices regardless of what's being said, because I think we buy into the narrative with regard to, they're going to do this and you're not going to be able to do this, and you're not going to be able to go there unless you. And I was thinking, well, damn it, I ain't never went to Broadway anyway. So what? Why now all of a sudden I'm gonna want to go to Broadway? I'm going to actually get something put in me so I can go to damn Broadway. That's the problem. Too many people are going to Broadway. I'm on the straight and narrow, and my narrow path is a truth walk. You know what I mean? I am not being blindly led, by what I hear being told over the television, or the catch you in the net. That's not what I'm about. You know what I mean? I'm about creating my own reality, and I hope that the people that are listening to us today take that same approach. If you are an office hours with Dr. G or House of Reawakening Minds, regular, then we invite you really to open your mind to all of the possibilities of creating a reality that is outside of the narrative. I'm a glitch and I'm a cog in the wheel. I'm a glitch in the program. My glitch T-shirt. As a matter of fact, my glitch T-shirt is going to be coming out, and hopefully, speaking of T-shirts, y'all see the T-shirt I got on, and it says the blood don't lie, people do. Know your bloodlines, you sanguinists. That's one of my new T-shirts, which is available in addition to the shirt that Grand Chic had on. We have a new shirt, Dr. We have a new let me pull that up for those who may or may not have been on. We couldn't get his picture, get him on teaching last Friday. So I had to shoot a picture of him and post it up. Let me get to this thing. All right. Y'all give me a second, or actually let me do this for because we're coming to the end of this particular program, and I just wanted to make sure that I kind of let folks know what we're doing. And let me get this picture. I want to put this picture up. I think I will. This is a picture of Grand Chic and Grand Chic time to repay in our new T-shirt for House of Reawakening Minds. It's House of Reawakening Minds, and at the very bottom you can't see it, but it says Reawakening Minds, one mind at a time. Are you awake yet? And that design was drawn by Grand Chic's son, Brother Shamsuddin. Grand Chic, and Grand Chic is Prime Minister Doreen Bay's son, did the shirt, did the design for me. I kind of told him what I wanted, and he brought my vision to life. So we have these two shirts right now, and we have more to come. Let me get from out there. But this one, I love it. The blood don't lie. People do. And I know people somebody said, put it on Facebook today, that you absolutely cannot wear white after Labor Day. I'll put down there, I can wear anything I want to at any time, any color, whatever suits my fancy. And white worked really good with this blood running down the front. It says the blood don't lie. People do. Know your bloodlines, you singleness. And then you got my Dr. G over here. But we have that shirt, and like I said, this shirt that you saw, let me get it right, which is House of Reawakening Minds, one mind at a time. Are you awake yet? And I thank all of those who were here on the 27th that actually got their shirts. Really appreciate it. We will be sending them out. The order form will be up shortly, but just wanted to let them know.
I got to get mine.
And well, I'm going to see you on the 22nd,
the 22nd and 3rd, that week,
23rd, which I believe that's a Thursday, Friday, right? Which is Thursday, Friday. Which, just to let them know, Grand Chic is not going to be coming on that third Friday, because we are going to be an industry show with the good doctor and Sister Cynthia L. So we kind of will do a fourth Friday that we normally don't do in place of the third Friday. So just giving y'all a heads up on that. Let somebody know. But this has been, of course, I can go as long as we want. But I wanted to make sure, because I know you sleepy, because I see your eyes crossing. I was sleepy earlier. Thank you for waking me up at 7:15, because and I know why. And listen, since we're talking about health and stuff like that, I'm gonna tell you why I was sleepy. I was sleepy because I went to pick up some more, and the Chinese restaurant was there, and I got some doggone shrimp. What do you call it? Shrimp
tempura.
No, the noodles, whatever the noodles are, lo mein, and they probably put some MSG or something in it, because I ate it and I came right home and I fell out until you called me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna wean myself away from that mess, because that's kind of like all I eat. I got salad in the refrigerator. I make salads, and that's what I should have been eating. But of course, I saw the restaurant when I went to pick up my packages. No, I knew I was going near the restaurant when I went to pick up my packages, and I fell off the wagon. So I know. I know that I got to do better. I mean, we need to be honest about our own shortcomings. You know what I mean? We need
Absolutely. I mean, I mean, if you want to indulge in certain things, I mean, the bottom line is not going to kill you if you have, because you look at when I was in school, I would see Asian people eat some of everything, but again, they have longevity. There's a '90s club in Japan, and they skate. They're playing bridge, they're smoking. It's a '90s club. All these people, hundreds of people, are in their '90s, and so life is about balance. It's about because I've known vegans. Again, a short story. I know three vegans. Well, I take it back, four that ate soy for 20 years. 3 of the 4 died of breast cancer.
Wow.
Okay. The one of them survived was one of my clients. She had the most gross form of cancer because it actually manifested through the breast, very gross. Mm-hmm. And this is like almost 7 years ago, she survived. But a lot of times, a lot of vegans back in the day would eat soy burgers, soy cheese, and don't realize that the soy, even the Asian people, until they perfected fermentation, they avoided the soybean because they knew it was toxic, and it breaks down this tumor suppressor gene. When you indulge in these certain things, a lot of vegans, indulge in more processed food. So we have to be very, very mindful. It's like you can't have this like people eat that are carnivores. You're a carnivore, but if you're a conscious carnivore, you're not going to consume commercialized beef or chicken because that cattle or that chicken has been abused in the process. Then it's been doped up with different chemicals to preserve the life or whatever, hormones, bovine growth hormone. I mean, again, when you're looking at, you have to be real mindful. I mean, GMOs, for example, genetic engineering, they can, right now, what they take is the gene of a spider or DNA of a spider and put it in the gene.
See, now they got you frozen. Can you say that again? Can you repeat that? Because you froze right there.
In genetic engineering, now they're taking to make spiderweb protein. They're taking the DNA of a spider and put it in the gene of a goat to make so the goat actually produces a spiderweb protein for bulletproof vest. Okay, there are rice farms that have 10 to 15% human gene in there. There are there are strawberries that have a jellyfish gene in there. So we have to be very, very mindful because these are the NutriSins. That was another book I'm coming out with, NutriSins, but nutritional sins that we take on as food that are out of balance with nature. And again, so we can't just go by the appeal on a package, on advertisement. We have to really become analysts, and we have to make our diet even more simplistic. Like you were talking about the noodles. I mean, soba buckwheat noodles, lo mein, udon, these are very simplistic meals that can really, be very filling. Like I had some lo mein noodles about 2 weeks ago. I had some broccoli.
Lo mein is different than ramen.
Yeah, totally different. I mean people are really causing.
I had lo mein today. I had shrimp lo mein, but it probably has some MSG in it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean from a restaurant, but what it's much better when you prepare it yourself.
Right.
Of course. But if you're out and about, like I said again, you detoxify, flush yourself. Again, but
take my CKL.
Yeah, but it's about balance, and
somebody asked if soba noodles are okay, and yes, they are. You recommend? Did you send me soba noodles?
Yeah, soba buckwheat. Buckwheat is very very nutritional for the body. It's not your standard wheat. There's GABA rice, there's ginger ma rice, there's forbidden black rice. There was also at one point was only made for the royal family in certain dynasties. There's many different foods out there. We have to diversify our diet. And this actually can be much more economical than buying all this processed foods. But I want to, when you were talking about connecting with nature before, it's a song that came out of the That's the Way of the World album by Earth, Wind and Fire called It's About Beauty. And I think people should listen to that. And Maurice White talks about simplicity, everything around you. He said the birds and trees. And if there ain't no beauty, you got to create some beauty. And that's what we got to start doing. We got to create beauty within ourselves. We got to elevate ourselves to a higher state. And so we can pass around the love. And when you have that type of connection, you start to, the fear starts to dissipate, because when you're in harmony with nature, you have no fear.
True.
Yeah.
Yep. Listen, in answer to the question about tickets for the next event, because our next event the date is set October 29th. And we don't have the tickets yet because Dr. Grand Sheik and I are working on our specifics. We think we have a topic, and so we're trying to get some folks that we want to be there to, who are going to speak on the topic that we're talking about. So they will be out soon. And on the 30th, I do apologize. The next day, we are having another event, which one of my spiritual daughters is working on. We'll have what do you call it? It's a holistic. It's going to be a holistic fair. So we'll be. I'm not handling that. She's handling it for me. So Nefera, I saw where she put it out there. So I'm not sure if the folks the vendors and folks that are coming, mostly she's from the Brooklyn area. So I don't know if folks are coming from Brooklyn or people in, other people will get an opportunity to vend at that. But it's going to be a holistic, it's a fair the next day. But on the 29th, we are going to have that event with Grand Sheik, myself, and some guests. It'll be a little different than the last one. And give us about another week. Give us another week to get the ticket information out. And it will be, we're going to limit it to a few less than the last time because we want folks to be comfortable. Although we think it'll be a little cooler in October than it was in August. But I really appreciate each and every, everyone that came. It was amazing. It was wonderful to see all of the folks, and look forward to seeing those again, or those that didn't get a chance to get there. So give us about a week and the ticket information will be out. All right. So thank you for everyone who participated. I'm not sure if we are on, something happened, looked like to the Facebook for some reason. The Facebook feed looks like it didn't go through because only people I see are on YouTube. And I'm not sure whether they're on Dr. G is official or whether or not they're on House of Reawakening Minds, because it's running on both. But it's, share this video. Please share this video. Let somebody, even though they may not have been on the live, there was some real good information that Dr. Botanica and I have presented. And reach out to him and reach out to the other vendors. Shout out to Brother Dave Levi Bay, who's in the chat, another great holistic practitioner in and of itself. Like I said, reach out to the vendors. A lot of the ones that you see advertised here are holistic practitioners or vendors. So please, 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 if they're on here, then, I can't vouch for 100% for everybody, but they've been on here for a while. And there's some people that I've taken off because when folk mess up, I take them off. I don't want to advertise them. So if I'm advertising them, then as far as I'm concerned, they still good with me. Information will be out soon about how you can get your shirt. I'm just trying to get the link right for PayPal because of the sizes. So as soon as that is straightened out, then you'll get the link to purchase your own T-shirt. I know you're gonna want this one. I know, but this one, I love this.
Expedite mine.
The blood don't lie. People do. Know your bloodline. This came to me like about a year ago. So it's so good to see it on a shirt. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll put it on another color. So for those people who don't wear white after Labor Day, maybe we'll put it on another shirt. But I think it looks good on white. Thank you. Thank you. Let me see. Much gratitude. Yeah. All right. Listen, I don't know. Any final words for you? Because I know you're out of town, and thank you so much for being out of town and still coming on doing this.
I love it. I mean, again, it's always I was invited to speak. Matter of fact, there's quite a few seniors that were 60 plus, and it was a beautiful outing, and we did some qigong, and we did a lot of things. We talked about diet. Got a lot of questions, a lot of response. Some grandchildren were there and things like that. But yeah, that's this is our duty. This is what we were put here for, and our purpose, and to continue to disseminate good information. And because it's unfortunate, there's not a lot of health practitioners that have a lot of integrity, like myself, Brother Dave, and those who are familiar with Brother Dave. Has a lot of integrity. His heart and soul is into his practice, just like mine. So, and just like what Grand Sheik tries to do is disseminate good, honest information, and this is what we do. This is what we're married to this, and divorce is not an option with this, so this is a lifetime.
Yes, it's good. I appreciate you all, like I said, and stick with us, send me suggestions. If you have connects with folks that you would like to see on the show or on my other channel, please, like I said, I'm working on it. That's more my holistic channel specifically, but I want to get, I'm trying to get a lineup. I'm trying to get folks to come on and give you quality information, because as Dr. Botanica says, we do this not because, it's not a business for me, and for most of us, it's a passion, and it's a compassion. Yes. It's a compassion, and when I say compassion, I'm talking about because I'm compelled to do this. And so just know we love you and appreciate you. And the theme song is coming. We out because we tired, but so, okay. All right. I appreciate. I'm gonna I got yoga in the morning, but I'm gonna get back to my qigong with Dr. Love, because when I saw my girl Deborah Smith the other day on Saturday, I was like, "Look at you!" She said, "I'm doing qigong."
She's on it. She's on it. Yeah, she's on it.
Look, I got to catch up with my sis, so that's encouragement. But thank you all so much. Until next time, this is Dr. G with my brother, Dr. Botanica, and we out, right?
Peace and be well.
Peace and
be well and be safe and be smart.
Yeah.
Dr. G. Really? Oh shit.
Yeah, that's me.
Dr. G. Really? Oh shit.
Yeah, that's me.
Dr. G. Really? Oh shit.
Yeah, that's
Dr. G. Really? Who's she?
Yeah, that's me.
Dr. G. Really? Who's she?
Yeah, that's me.
Dr. G. Really? Who's she?
Yeah, that's me.
Dr. G. Really? Who's she?
Yeah, that's me.